Welcome. We are here for Ripples of Success with Keli-Ann Pye-Beshara.
Hello.
Keli-Ann is a very dear friend of mine, someone I know and love, and I'm really thrilled to have you here, Keli-Ann, because because you actually don't see yourself as a leader. I actually keep trying to convince you that you're a leader.
For
And the
you.
reality is that you are. And so I think it's a great conversation because you're not alone in this. And I see where you lead all over the place. And I think it's a great conversation because it allows us to, I think, help people recognize the places that they're leading that they don't even know about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's an interesting topic myself.
So tell us a little bit about your business, what you created, and sort of how you got to where you are.
Oh,
I know,
goes
it's
way
a big, it's like,
back. Yeah, that's right. Where do I start? Well, I guess technically I started in 1990, which makes me an overnight sensation to today. Uh, but I started full time as a visual artist in 2006. And I guess I started off probably on a pretty rocky foot because I just went for it. It was like the right opportunity to take a stab at my artwork full time. My hubby had been trying to convince me of it for like 4 years, I think. And I was like, no, 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 starving artist, starving artist. I'm not doing it. I'll never do it. Anyhow, fast forward to 2006, and all of a sudden I had the opportunity and the time to really look around and kind of check out my options and really do the artwork my way, even though my mindset still wasn't on par with what I know today. You know, like I still had starving artists, like I had to work very hard in order to make this work, and it's going to be difficult, and I got to figure it all out and make it all up. And I mean, that was all true. So I started off as a public artist. I'd never painted in public before, but I knew at this point in time, if I was home and left to my own devices, then I probably wasn't going to stick to it, and no one was going to know about it because in 2006, Facebook had just started. So it was still like old school marketing. And I was like, I just can't be at that. Like, I gotta make a living at this, and it's got to be fast and it's got to be furious. So what am I going to do? So my husband and I were at a French restaurant in Collingwood, Ontario, and we were sitting there, and I had been kind of scoping out perhaps places that I could set up my studio and paint in public, and then therefore my marketing would be happening while I was working, and hopefully it would all work out. So I, put a proposal together for the French restaurant downtown, and I was hoping they'd say no, and they said yes right away on a Friday. I was like, oh God, okay. Now what do I do? So over the weekend, and then they said, well, why don't you start Monday? And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. Okay, yeah. I'll be in on Monday with all my art stuff that I had to go buy on the weekend. So I got everything together that made me look like an artist and figured out what I was going to paint, and I got set up. And once I started, it kind of didn't stop. Started painting in my style. I kind of have, like a different style than, say, perhaps the rest of the Georgian Triangle artists, maybe. And yeah, the marketing worked because it was the sort of the branch for Muskokas between Toronto and, cottage country. And it just took off, and I painted like a maniac. And from there, I figured out how to make my business the way I wanted it. It was a good way to start, but I couldn't continue like that.
Yeah, not sustainable. You had a bazillion commissions.
A bazillion. I had a 3-year wait list.
Yeah.
Which was excellent business wise, but very difficult artist wise. Like, every chance I had to paint, I felt like I should fulfill a commission because I'm all about customer service. And so it was a lot of pressure. And I still laugh at myself a little bit in like thinking that's a lot of pressure to have lots of work, but somehow it didn't work for me. So,
but it's totally a lot of pressure, right?
yeah. And then to create from the heart when people are waiting on it is, I don't know, just too much of a squeeze.
I remember when you said, I'm not taking any more commissions. And I was like, oh,
I know. And you would know what that means.
Yeah.
Out of almost everybody.
It was wild. And I was like, oh, and you're like, I want to paint what I want to paint. And it was really cool. And this is one of these places where, you got super clear. I think you did some really cool things to get your business rolling, to create the network and the word of mouth and all of that. And you leveraged the list building and so on as you're frantically learning how to do that sort of stuff as well. Because you've done a nice job of building your artistry as well as your business at the same time. And that's, I think, one of the things. I know you've talked to a lot of artists about the way that you've built your business and sort of how you've woven those two together over the years.
Yeah, I always love the way you put it. It's always like, yeah, wow, yes.
That's what I did. It was awesome.
Yes, it was just like that. Yep.
One of the things I'd love for you to talk to us about, if we sort of look at, personal mastery is, something you've been working on for a lot of years. You and I have spent a lot of time talking about it over the years. And that, I think, really sort of weaves really closely for you with the grounded alignment of knowing who you are, what's important to you, and then building out your own capacity so that you could meet your own values.
Yes, that's well put again.
So tell me a little bit about that, because you draw lines in the sand on how you do your business a lot.
Now, I still have the residual guilt from it. I'm not going to lie.
Work in progress.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't feel near as much guilt as I used to, which is good. I guess I don't compare myself as much anymore to what other people are doing and what, you always laugh at me when I go, real artists, because I am one.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I just had to figure out how to do it my way, or I knew I wasn't going to make it, because it was a lot of pressure and a lot of shoulds in my mind, and really talking to my good friends helped immensely over the years. Otherwise, I don't think I would have sorted it out as quick as I did. So let's see, what have I done? Yeah, a lot of lines in the sand. I realized I didn't want to paint all the time. That wasn't in my wheelhouse, even though I was an artist. And how do you be an artist if you don't actually want to paint all the time? What are you going to be doing? Even though once you have a business, you know exactly what you're doing when you're not painting. You're doing accounting, you're doing marketing, you're doing, everything. I really feel over the years, I've rendered it down to a very sensible level that I can handle. And simplicity has been the key for me. just keep simplifying. You know, in the beginning, I blew it all up and I tried everything and did everything. And I'm glad I did, because it was essential to getting the business off the ground. Like, I don't regret that at all. So really just getting it all fired up was great. So it was like, blow it up and then let it all settle, and then pick out the pieces that really work for me and that make me happy and I know I could do for a long time. So did that answer your question? I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
I have a question.
Okay, good.
I
can ask
would
questions all day. So
I would love to know, what were some of the lines in the sand that you drew? The ones that, like, specifically, what were they? Like, what was important to you that you needed to draw the line in the sand?
That's a great question. Deciding that I didn't need to paint all the time. I decided that doing original paintings all the time was not for me either, which is when I decided to get into digital prints, which back in 2006 and 7 was not what it is today. And I felt very nervous about that because it went against my fine arts days of, you know, prints are only hand pulled and, you know, you got to like give up your firstborn for them. And I was like, I don't know, I really like the thoughts of everybody being able to have my artwork.
Nice.
Whereas normally in fine art, it's for the select few.
Right.
So I felt really uncomfortable going digital prints with open editions so that more people could have it. I don't know. I guess I'm like the Bruce Springsteen of of artists, you know, for the people. And I wanted my artwork in people's houses and you know, businesses that it made them happy. And I didn't feel like I wanted to, you know, deny anybody a bit of happiness if my artwork brought it to them.
Keli-Ann, this is a beautiful example of where you were brought into a defined identity, right? When you became a visual artist, you already described what visual artists sort of think they are or how they get defined. And it requires grounded alignment to say, this is fine, but I want to pick and choose out of this what I want to keep. And then I want to add other things. I want to create my own identity around what's important to me, about what makes me happy, about what continues to motivate me to do more for myself and for others. And that's why you so beautifully fit in that grounded alignment spectrum.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, great.
And so even though you felt guilt and you felt the shoulds around it, what you were doing was growing beyond the identity that you first had.
Yes.
To be more aligned to your own identity about who you are.
Absolutely. Well, right. And I was afraid that my fine arts friends were gonna find out what I was doing. And I was like, I'd go to bed at night like, oh God, are they gonna think like I'm a sellout? You know, I'm not a real artist. I'm just, you know, yeah, it was a lot of sorting in my own mind, and then to actually conclude that it was the right way for me. And the social part of the art, because I started, you know, painting in public, and, you know, like I had 100 people a day coming up to me, like I was painting and talking, and, you know, people would just unload all their deep, dark secrets like I was a bartender, because I was stuck there. I couldn't go anywhere. And there were like leather couches. And so I think the social part of art and how much people were fascinated or are fascinated with the process of art that I didn't realize, because I've done it my whole life and creating is normal for me, but like people would bring their kids in, and I think it was just the fascination with it and how much people didn't know about it really fired me up and has kept me going today. Like social media now is my new painting in public, so to speak.
So cool.
And I like including people. Like I just love interaction, and I love seeing people get a rise out of something, or, you know, some piece really brings something out of them. I love the emotions that come from it. Yeah.
That's cool. So from the start, where everything was, like you said, chock-a-block, just so full, right? It's like, I'm going to do whatever. I don't know what's going to work. I'm going to work my butt off. And that is true entrepreneurial. And as you've put these lines in the sand and you've become much more aligned and grounded into who you are, how are your days different? You talked about simplifying. What has been the result of that now?
The result of simplifying, I would say, rather than doing, say, 200 things a day, now I just do like 60. So I pared it down to the basics of, you know, you got to do marketing, you've got to do your bookkeeping, you know. I have a studio block of time in my schedule that I stick to sometimes. What else have I pared it down to? I do a lot more outdoors now. I don't confine myself to like, oh, I have to work in order to justify, you know, being a professional in anything. I've kind of let all those ideas go. I think I just kind of walk my own walk now without so much pressure on myself or having to measure up to some ideal I'd made up in my head 100 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of work, I must say. Inner, outer,
Yeah.
physical, mental. Yeah.
And now you're enjoying it.
I am enjoying it. Actually, I feel like just now, what is this, 15 years later, full time, that I can finally relax somehow.
Is there any advice that you would give to people to sort of shorten that? If they didn't have to take 15 years, like part of the journey you just have to take. The wisdom comes from taking the journey. Is there any advice you have that people could have maybe done something earlier than you did that would maybe get to the point where they're really enjoying themselves and their life? Like I said, maybe even just a year or two earlier or 5 years earlier.
If anything, I would have done a list that says, like, what would my art career entail? Like, just, you know, fun, you know, lots of time outdoors, looking for inspiration, you know, even, you know, address the financial, like how much would I want to make in my first year or my second year, or like a mini business plan, life business plan would have been handy. I didn't do any of that. I just got at it and figured it out as I was going along, which there's also something, you know, like fresh and exploratory in that.
Well, I would argue that probably it works best to do a little of both.
Yes. Yeah. A little plan with a little, like, just go seize the day, man. It'll all work out somehow.
Yeah. I love it.
And you've leveraged over the years, having people work in your business to help set up systems and so on, so that they more and more can be automated and like that kind of thing, which seems almost counterintuitive to the artist thing, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think art is so, you know, freestyle that the more systems you can have in place that you don't have to pay attention to bookkeeping, the marketing, you know, all the time, and, you know, completely suck all your energy, that you have nothing left for, you know, your easel and that type of thing. So really, I have been trying to systematize anything I can to just give me some, you know, level of something I can trust, something I can rely on, something that will keep going as I, you know, as I create. I need to know all that stuff is in the background being taken care of in order to be able to relax and truly feel inspired.
I love that. one of the reasons that I really wanted to make sure that we spoke with you is, you know, as I said at the beginning, you lead in a very different way than what many of us think of as a leader. And that is, I think, a great example for people to start to recognize places where they're leading that they didn't even know that they were leading.
Well, I think you tell me that all the time, and you have for years, and I believe you now.
Awesome. Yay. So glad you're here. Thank you so much, Keli-Ann. We love you.
That was really fun. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.